Okay, good afternoon. This is the Cup final. Yeah, I know the FA Cup final is being played at this very moment, so thank you very much for all those people who've opted to come to watch this, participate in this workshop, rather than watch the Cup final, the FA Cup, or to watch qualifying for the Monaco Grand Prix. So this is a workshop. What I want you to do is to have the experience of what it's like to get instant feedback from various apps. The apps you're going to need are ChatGPT or Copilot, I don't mind which. You've got to have that on your phone. And also you need to have already downloaded and set up free accounts for the two apps that are competing in the Cup final, SoundType and Notta. So the whole objective is for you to learn how students can use these apps with a free account to get instant feedback on their speaking. I've set up a WhatsApp group. It's called Speech to Text in Language Learning and Teaching. And the idea is here, this presentation will be available there. And also I will put other materials connected with what I've been looking into with speech to text. If you don't like WhatsApp groups, you've got too many anyway, or you don't have WhatsApp, you can use the QR code on the other side to simply get access to the folder where this presentation is. So in the last 12 months, I've studied more than 70 apps and web pages that offer speech to text. I decided to narrow my examination down to a much smaller number. I wanted only to look at things that worked on both Android phones and iPhones, so that if you use it in class, you won't have to have a whole lot of instructions for one and different instructions for the other. I wanted it to record your voice and keep the recording, so that recording could be passed on to your teacher or into a portfolio of speaking. I also wanted the transcription to be accurate to at least 94%. Some of them had very low accuracy, so I only chose amongst the higher quality ones. I also wanted to be able to edit the transcriptions, because sometimes you get absurd mistranscriptions, like a good humble player instead of a good handball player. A student would immediately notice that humble was not what they were trying to say, and they could then edit the transcript to say handball. It also head up to the fact that they have a pronunciation problem with handball. Also, I wanted the transcription to be easy to share and copy into ChatGPT or Copilot. I also wanted a usable length for each recording. I thought 3 minutes was the minimum, so I didn't look further on apps which offered less than that. Also, I wanted a generous monthly total with a free account so that students wouldn't need to pay. And these are the two finalists, SoundType and Notta AI. So what I'll do is try to demonstrate the whole sequence that you need to get individual feedback. I'm not actually going to do it live. I thought that was too risky. What I'm going to do is to show you the steps. So I'm going to play a recording made by a student to simulate a live EFL class, get a transcript of the recording, correct any obvious mistranscriptions, copy the corrected transcript to some form of generative AI, and then ask them for corrections, for a more coherent version, and for the chance to listen to the more coherent version. Now, I'm imagining that in a real class, students would then repeat the task.
Jenny and Rod have gone to her parents' house. They are very late. They are late. And also, Rod forget the present for her parents. He forgot a chocolate at the office. Later, Jenny introduced Rod with her parents. In the meeting, she talked about her promotion. She will editor to magazine, and she isn't boss to Rod.
Transcript. Here is a transcript, but you can see that it has got quite a lot of errors in it. It was Jenny and Rob, not Jenny and Broth, and their late aunt also. No, aunt was just and, I think. So what we're going to do is to look at what's happened here, where the student has corrected Broth to Rob, has corrected aunt to and has perhaps removed things like she, where the student repeated it. Okay, this is the transcript corrected by the student, and remember the student has probably only corrected the errors that were errors of transcription. Of course, they may also have noticed an error of their own and corrected it, but that's fine. Yeah. So, asking ChatGPT for corrections, I said, please correct any mistakes in this text, and that's what it did. It got the aunt got rid of and put that into Rob. During the meeting instead of in the meeting. Perhaps the most important ones are the ones at the end. She will be an editor for the magazine, not Will R. And she isn't boss to Rob, no, she isn't Rob's boss. So there are probably 3 or 4 things there. Oh, the correct tense, forget to forgot. So as long as the student notices those, and one way of making it easier to notice is to say, please correct any mistakes in this text and mark in bold the corrections. That makes it easier to see. Here I've underlined the corrections. The second thing is to ask ChatGPT, please improve this text for level A2 on the CEFR scale. And you can see there the original and the improved version. Jenny and Rob arrived at her parents' house, but they were very late. Unfortunately, Rob forgot to bring a gift for her parents. That's really nice, the introduction of unfortunately. A Spanish student wouldn't have difficulty in understanding that. Later, Jenny introduced Rob to her parents, so we've already got the correction included there. During the conversation, surely that's better than during the meeting. And she mentioned her recent promotion, much more sophisticated than she talked about her promotion. And I think it's good. Spanish students wouldn't have any problem with that. She'll now be working as an editor for the magazine. Okay, so the future continuous is perhaps more advanced, but it's a good thing for students to be exposed to that, even if they can't necessarily use it themselves in the repetition of the task. It's important to note that she's not Rob's boss. It is actually brilliant because the video made it very clear that that was something that had to be clarified. So what I want you to do is to decide which speech-to-text app to use. I think it's more convenient if all the people who are sitting on the right-hand side of the room, on the side where it says SoundType AI, use that app, and people on the other side use Notta. So I'll be putting the instructions on two panels, and one will be on one side, one will be on the other. So SoundType is on the right hand side, Notta is on the left hand side. So if you could use that app, that will be convenient. Then you'll have the instructions right in front of you. What you're going to have to do is to set the default transcription language to your weakest other language, but not the language you can only say hola in. It's the language which you might make mistakes in if you're retelling a story. I'm going to get you to record yourself retelling the story as shown in 4 pictures. I'm going to get you to edit out some mistranscriptions, add your name in, copy the transcript, paste it into ChatGPT or Copilot, whichever you prefer. Ask it to correct your transcript and ask it to make an improved version at B2 level on the CFR scale. Listen to this version. That perhaps we won't want to do because unless you've got headphones, it's going to be too noisy. So let's go first through how to set up the default transcription language. This is most important with Notta because Notta transcribes as you speak. SoundType takes the recording and then makes a transcription of the recording. So you'll get another chance with SoundType to specify the language. So I'm going to go through the steps of this. I want SoundType. I won't read the instructions because they're different depending on which app you're using. Yeah, that wheel is the settings. Default transcription language is what you want. So, okay, I hope everyone's managed to do that. Now, how to record yourself. Once more, the instructions are there on one side for SoundType and on the other side for Notta. I'm going to follow the instructions for SoundType because I want to check that I'm giving you enough time to actually do this. So just read the instructions for your app. Okay, so let's move on. This is the task I want you to do. Well, this is an example of the kind of task I want you to do. You'll see 4 pictures and I want you to record yourself retelling the story to your partner in your weakest second or third language, the one that you can tell a story in, but you might make mistakes. Include one false detail for your partner to identify later. This is simply to give your partner a reason to listen to what you say. Now, if there are a lot of people in the room, there's going to be a problem with the Wi-Fi, and there might even be a problem with the app server for these two apps. But apart from the problem with bandwidth, I want to make this a real communicative activity. So this is a type of activity I've used many times before. I ask one student to sit with their back to the screen so they have no idea what's on the screen, and their partner to sit facing them, looking over their shoulder at the screen. And the idea is that the one who can see the screen could tell the story of the four pictures, for example, or read the interview questions, or describe a video clip. So it's going to be complicated a little bit by the fact that you may all have chosen different languages. So to find a compatible partner, you're going to have to find someone who can understand the language you're going to speak in, and that you can understand the language that they're going to speak in. So find a partner, check that you've got compatible languages, and okay, if you're going to speak in Japanese or Welsh or a language where it may be more difficult to find someone who can understand it, let me know, because there may be someone on the other side of the room and you can change over. Okay, so it's important now for the one who's sitting with their back to the screen not to look at the screen again. Okay? So, record yourself retelling a story to your partner in your weakest second or third language. Include one false detail for your partner to identify later. I will do it myself. Un día, una señora estaba mirando en el escaparate de una tienda de zapatos. Un señor que pasaba por ahí vio que ella tenía el bolso dentro de la cesta y que era muy fácil de cogerlo. Y exactamente, lo hizo. Cogió el bolso y se fue corriendo por la calle. La señora corrió detrás de él gritando «¡Ladrón, ladrón!». Afortunadamente había un señor que sentía las voces de «ladrón, ladrón», y como estaba sentado en un banco por donde pasaba el ladrón, usó su bastón para hacerle caer. El hombre cayó al suelo, dejó la bolsa y en aquel momento llegó un policía para arrestar al ladrón, y la señora dio las gracias al señor. Okay, before you do the next steps with transcripts, could you just ask your partner to tell you what the false detail was without looking at the picture? Another thing you can say to your partner is, could you retell the story in any language? That's kind of a test of how well they've understood it. So I will simulate that by retelling the story in English. There was a woman looking in a shoe shop window when a thief saw that she'd got her handbag in her basket and he stole it and ran off down the street. An old man who was sitting on a bench heard the woman shouting, "Thief, stop thief," and stuck out his walking stick, and the man fell over and dropped the bag. Luckily at this moment a policeman came along, arrested the thief, and the woman thanked the man for his help. Okay, you might like to have a look at the pictures now, so do turn round and have a look at the picture. Were there any surprises when you saw the pictures? Did you detect the one false detail your neighbour included, or did you need to look at the picture to detect it? Okay, so now let's get on to the business in hand of editing the transcript. You can change speaker 1 to your name if you like, and you can also remove any obvious errors in the transcript. I'm using SoundType AI, so it takes a little time to transcribe it. With Notta, it's quicker. Because it's been transcribing on the fly, its transcription will be ready more quickly. When it's only a recording of a minute or so, it only takes a minute or so to get the transcript. Obviously, the longer the recording is, the longer you need to wait, but usually a couple of minutes is all you need to wait. Oh yeah, I've got the summary, and I'm going to go through the business of changing the speaker name to my name. And it's changed it throughout. Now I'm going to have a look at how to edit it. You've got the instructions about how to edit it there. I'm going to correct the false information I gave. Okay, so I think I've got that done. So we're on to the next stage, which is copying and pasting the transcript. So here are the instructions about how to do this in the two apps you're using. Yeah, the share app icon is that sort of thing with 3 dots separated by a sort of V. Unfortunately, in Notta, the timestamps can't be removed unless you pay. Okay, ChatGPT got through immediately, so I'm pasting it in there. Now, the best thing is to go back to the beginning and put in the prompts, the instruction you're going to give. So these are some of the sorts of things you could say. Please correct any mistakes in this text. and remove the timestamps. If you're using Nota, you'll need that. Please correct this text and highlight the mistakes in bold. I think I'm going to use that one. And I'm going to put mark the mistakes in bold. Question mark. I'm going to send that off. Okay. Right, so it's worked very well. It's put in bold a few things. Right, I made some mistakes, obviously. Cogerlo. Don't remember what I said. I put muy fácil de cogerlo, and it's muy fácil cogerlo. Okay. Y exactamente eso hizo. Yeah, that's better. Right. I don't know why it's put ladrón, ladrón in bold. And I put sentía las voces, which is Catalan, and it should have been oía las voces. En ese momento, okay, I put in aquel momento. En este momento is aquel, I suppose, is not the right form. La señora le dio las gracias al señor. Yeah. La señora le dio las gracias al señor. So that's quite interesting. I've got a few useful corrections there. So should the students make a note of these corrections? Might be an idea. Now, how to get an improved version for this? I'm going to say, please improve this text for level B1 on the CEFR scale. I'm going to do it by speaking, but could you type it? Please make a more coherent version at level B1 on the CEFR scale.
Claro, aquí tienes una versión más coherente del texto a nivel B1. Un día, una señora estaba mirando el escaparate de una tienda de sombreros. Un señor que pasaba por ahí vio que ella tenía el bolso dentro de la cesta y pensó que sería fácil robarlo, así que aprovechó la oportunidad y lo hizo. Cogió el bolso y se fue corriendo por la calle. La señora empezó a correr detrás de él gritando, ¡Ladrón, ladrón! Afortunadamente, había un señor que escuchó los gritos de ladrón, ladrón. Estaba sentado en un banco por donde pasaba el ladrón, así que usó su bastón para hacerle caer. El ladrón cayó al suelo, soltó el bolso y en ese momento llegó un policía que arrestó al ladrón. La señora dio las gracias al señor por su ayuda.
Well, you can see that was really quite a good improvement. So I can also look at it and read it. The idea is that students should be able to acquire some new language by imitating some of the things in this improved version. Un señor que pasaba por ahí, I quite like that. Así que aprovechó la oportunidad y lo hizo. Así que comes up again. Así que usó su bastón para hacerle caer. The idea is that the student would then repeat the task in a more communicative situation. Okay, so if you can now change places with your partner so that the one who was speaking before now has their back to the screen and the one who was listening before is now facing the screen, there are going to be 4 new pictures for you to describe. Okay? So record yourself retelling the story to your partner in your weaker second or third language. Include one false detail for your partner to identify later. Un día, un estudiante corría en su bicicleta porque llegaba tarde a la conferencia de la mañana. No se dio cuenta de que pasaba un camión en la calle siguiente y chocó con el camión y cayó al suelo. El hombre estaba inconsciente, pero miraculosamente la bicicleta no le había pasado nada. El conductor del camión bajó y llamó al 999 para pedir una ambulancia. Vinieron la ambulancia y le llevaron al hospital. Okay, don't turn round yet. Ask your partner to tell you what the false detail was, and ask your partner to retell the story in any language. Okay, the false detail was that the bicycle was not damaged. It was, in fact. So one day a student was rushing on his bicycle to the lecture at university. He was a bit late, so he had his head down and he didn't see that there was a lorry ahead at the crossroads, and he crashed into the lorry, and he was unconscious on the ground and his bicycle was badly damaged. The lorry driver telephoned 999 and an ambulance came and took the man to hospital. Do turn around now and look at the pictures. Were you surprised by anything? Does seeing the pictures help you realise what false detail your partner included? Well, there we are. So here are the instructions for adding your name and getting rid of any mistranscriptions. Once more, I'm using sound type, so it takes a bit longer for it to transcribe. Nota transcribes more quickly because it's been transcribing as you spoke. Okay, I've got my transcription. I'm going to correct something. I made a mistake with a pronoun there. So I hope I've corrected it now. But I didn't see any mistranscriptions. So the next step is to get your transcript into ChatGPT or Copilot, follow the instructions there. In this case, it's probably easier to use sound type because you don't have to worry about the timestamps. I'll start a new conversation. So I've pasted in a transcript. Now I'm going to go back to the beginning and I'm going to put in one of these prompts. Please correct and explain any mistakes in this text. We'll get a much longer output. Okay, well, you can of course listen to it.
Claro, aquí tienes el texto corregido y explicado. Un día, un estudiante corría en su bicicleta porque llegaba tarde a la conferencia de la mañana. No se dio cuenta de que un camión pasaba en la calle siguiente y chocó con el camión, cayendo al suelo. El hombre estaba inconsciente, pero milagrosamente a la bicicleta no le había pasado nada. El conductor del camión bajó y llamó al 999 para pedir una ambulancia. Vinieron la ambulancia y lo llevaron al hospital. Explicación de los cambios. Un día un estudiante...
Okay, so that was the corrected version there. Obviously, we can do the same thing here. Please make a more coherent version at level B1 on the CFR scale. Type it or say it if you've got earphones. Please make a more coherent version at level B1 on the CEFR scale.
Claro, aquí tienes una versión más sencilla y coherente del texto. Un día, un estudiante iba en su bicicleta porque llegaba tarde a una conferencia. No vio que un camión pasaba en la siguiente calle y chocó con el camión, cayendo al suelo. El hombre quedó inconsciente, pero milagrosamente la bicicleta no se dañó. El conductor del camión bajó y llamó al 999 para pedir una ambulancia. La ambulancia vino y lo llevó al hospital.
So that wasn't actually very different from the corrected version. So there wasn't much language to be learnt there. You can obviously repeat the instruction, say, at level B2 on the CFR scale. But, okay, we've now had a look at using sound type and nota to get transcripts and to get corrections of the transcripts and to get improved versions, more sophisticated versions where the student might be able to learn what they might have said if their level had been a little bit higher. This is now to get some feedback on your experience using sound type and nota. Use the appropriate QR code here, or if you haven't got a QR code reader, you can go on a browser to menti.com and use the corresponding code. Okay, so let's have a look at the results. Okay, so there you've got the results there. When you click submit at the end, your results will show up here. Make sure that you skip any feedback which you can't give. If you didn't use ChatGPT, just put skip and skip for those two sentences and vice versa. So I don't know if there is a winner here. I think my own preference would be for sound type. It has up to 8 minutes. It doesn't have the problem with having to remove the timestamps. Nota only has 3 minutes. They're both pretty accurate in their transcripts. Anyway, I hope that demonstration has given you an idea about what's possible. I deliberately chose a task which would be about a minute long, and I chose the Spanish student as being a minute long. Many of my students were making recordings of 2 to 3 minutes, so there will be more feedback there. You can't really read these here. I've put on the end of the presentation some websites offering to evaluate student speaking, and I've put here some references to A1 in language teaching, 3 Facebook groups, 1 Telegram channel, and my own blog where I write quite often about speech to text. So just to remind you, if you want to join the WhatsApp group, use the QR code on the right, and if you just want access to the folder where this presentation is, use the QR code on the left.